to a new episode of Depreciation Nation, and today we are back with a project on our cheap E90 we featured some time ago. But before we get into it, why don't you go ahead and hit that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen so that you don't miss some of the most eclectic automotive content on YouTube. Now, when we introduced this car, I mentioned the fact that we had an exhaust leak, and we couldn't quite pinpoint where that exhaust leak was coming from at that point in time. It does appear as though the car has had the cats replaced on it with some aftermarket units, and it appears as though that exhaust leak is coming from the front manifold, so that's what we are going to address in today's video. Now, before we get into it, I do want to mention one of my favorite things about this car is that when you replace the cats or do any sort of header work on the E46 chassis, it generally requires that you have to jack up the motor, you have to disconnect and remove the passenger side motor mount to manipulate the headers in and out of the car. Being that this is a new platform and being that this is the E90, my favorite feature is the fact that we don't have to do any of that because there is plenty of room for header work on this car. So we're going to get into it and hopefully we can get this problem knocked out. Now the headers do sit right down here along the passenger side of the motor. They are held on with 11mm nuts unless your particular car has had any work or any hardware replacement on them. We are going to remove the front oxygen sensor, and for this project, it is easier for me to remove the front clip off of the car, the radiator core support, so on and so forth, and then we've got all the room in the world that we need to work. So we've got the front end of the car off. It really didn't take all that long, held on by just a few bolts. And now, as you can see, we've got all the room in the world to get our hands down in here to remove this header. Bolts off the manifold. Now we are going to take the exhaust off the bottom. We've got the car jacked up and secured with a jack stand. torque back down appropriately with the new gaskets in place. We've got our lower exhaust hooked back up. We've got our O2 sensors back in. And hopefully, if we have done this right, we will no longer have an exhaust leak. So that's a wrap on our exhaust leak. As you can clearly hear, we finally got that under wraps. All we've got left to do is throw the front end of the car back on and clean up our mess. The next project we are going to address on this is the PCV system. We've got parts for that. And so stay tuned, because in a few weeks we are going to address the PCV system on this particular vehicle. Remember to hit that subscribe button at the bottom of your screen if you like what you see. You will catch some of the most eclectic car content on YouTube, should you choose to do so. Thanks for watching. We'll talk to you soon.